How long do you think an aircraft will remain in service? 5 years? 10 years? Or perhaps 100 years? Well, you guessed it right. The average service life of a passenger aircraft is 25 years, and the average life of a cargo aircraft is 32 years. But those are just averages. Some are retired well before the end of their service life for economic reasons, for instance, after 10 or 15 years in service. When an airline decides to retire an aircraft, it can be either sold in the second-hand market to another airline, it can be stored in an aircraft boneyard, or it can be broken down for parts and recycled materials right away, what we call decommissioning. Boneyard storage is either short-term, while waiting for the right market conditions to resell the aircraft, or longer-term, with the purpose of slow breakdown of the aircraft for spare parts. What exactly is involved in decommissioning an aircraft? The first step is that hazardous substances still present in the aircraft, such as remaining fuel, hydraulic fluid, wastewater, etc., need to be removed and disposed of. This is crucial so that the rest of the process can occur safely. Once these materials are removed, valuable parts such as engines, landing gear, avionics, or seats are removed, repaired if necessary, and reused in other aircraft. This stage is referred to as disassembly, and up to the end of this stage, the aircraft still belongs to the aviation business sector. After disassembly, the aircraft no longer has value to the aviation market, but it is still valuable as waste. In a stage referred to as dismantling, it is further broken down for parts and materials that can be recycled for non-aviation markets. The remaining non-recyclable waste is landfilled or burned for energy recovery. The use of best practices on typical aircraft currently being decommissioned can result in 85 to 90% of the total weight of the aircraft being reused or recycled. Indeed, the engines, systems, landing gear, and seats, which amount to around 50% of the total weight of the aircraft, are brought back into the aviation industry, which already shows a very good basis for a circular economy. The non-recyclable waste amounts hence to 10 to 15% of the total weight of the aircraft. It is mainly composed of carbon composite materials and interior components, such as insulation blankets, carpets, seat cushions, sidewalls, and ceiling panels, which cannot be recycled because they contain flame retardant chemicals. I would like to stress, however, that these numbers correspond to best decommissioning practices and to the typical aircraft currently at the end of their life, such as the Boeing 747, whose structure is mostly metallic. The newer passenger aircraft, such as the Airbus A350 or the Boeing 787, have a significantly higher content of carbon composite materials, as we have seen already. So as you can imagine, they will result in higher amounts of non-recyclable waste unless large-scale recycling solutions for composite materials are developed by the time these aircraft are decommissioned. Furthermore, aircraft such as the Airbus A380 may also entail a significant increase in the non-recyclable waste, caused by the use of relatively complex materials such as glaire, composed of aluminum sheets interspersed with glass fiber reinforced polymer. It is clear that one of the main challenges that aircraft decommissioning faces is the development of industrial recycling solutions for new materials, such as carbon composites or aluminum lithium alloys, as well as for interior materials. Likewise, there is nowadays no legislation or regulations for aircraft decommissioning practices, which means that every company can, in principle, address this issue differently. Apart from the buildup of non-recyclable waste, the environmental threat posed by potential leakage of fuel or hydraulic fluids into surrounding soil or water, when they are not removed from the aircraft and disposed of in an adequate and timely manner, is of particular concern. Another important challenge is the frequent lack of a business case, especially in the dismantling and recycling stages of the decommissioning process. What does this mean? Well, this means that On some occasions, it is cheaper to leave the aircraft carcass indefinitely in storage than to dismantle it for parts and recycled materials. How do you think this situation could be improved? First, the end of life should already be taken into consideration when the aircraft structure is designed, which is rarely done nowadays. This could, for example, imply the use of fewer material combinations or designs that maximize the ease of dismantling. Second, the end of life should also be accounted for during manufacturing by, for example, increasing traceability through material labeling or documentation, or by favoring joining processes such as welding that do not introduce extra foreign materials in the structure. Third, a variety of reuse or recycling applications that favor upcycling instead of downcycling should be identified and defined. Think of, for example, a systematic use of aircraft fuselage and wing parts for the building of bridges or affordable housing. In summary, the aircraft industry already does a good job at reusing valuable parts of retired aircraft. However, further effort is needed to systematically minimize non-recyclable aircraft waste in current and especially new aircraft.